Greetings, and thanks for joining us for this discussion on Tangent Studio's use of Intel technologies in production. A little background on Tangent Studios. We are storytellers, and the company is the culmination of decades of combined experience in producing feature-quality computer graphics content and building innovative software and powerful production tools. The company currently numbers 300-plus artists and developers housed in facilities in Toronto and Winnipeg, Canada. We're currently structured into 4 collaborative business units. Tangent Animation, who is responsible for creating animated feature film content. Tangent Interactive, our games and interactive division. Tangent Labs, responsible for the common technology underlying our feature film projects with hooks for the engineers and technical directors that enable them to produce tools specific to a show. And Tangent Creates, our creative intellectual property company. My name is Jeff Bell. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years and was part of the original team that brought Alias Wavefront's Maya 1.0 and 2.0 to market. Later CG supervisor, visual effects supervisor, and producer on many feature films including IDT Entertainment's Everyone's Hero, Shane Acker and Tim Burton's 9, and most recently Netflix's Next Gen. Tangent's work includes Ozzy, winner of a Cinema Writers Circle Award in 2017 and a Gaudi Award for Best Animated Feature also in 2017. Ozzy was a modest budget feature film that was distributed in the theaters widely around the world and was a result of a Canada-Spanish co-production. We also created Next Gen, winner of a Motion Picture Sound Editor's Golden Reel Award in 2019 and 2 Kidscreen Awards for Best Animation and Best Design. Next Gen was a collaboration between Tangent and our Chinese partners Baozhou and was released on Netflix in the fall of 2018. Tangent Labs is currently developing a commercial package called LOUPE based on our internal production tools conceived by Tangent Labs while producing Netflix's Next Gen. It was created to address common problems experienced during the development of animated feature films and episodic TV shows, namely asset management, which was hosted in the cloud to enable remote collaboration between multiple facilities and individual remote artists located anywhere in the world, project management, which was tied directly into the assets being managed, a web-based project view, reporting and visibility into the project status, and render management for both on-premise hardware and render instances located in the AWS cloud infrastructure. So what makes Tangent unique? We love to pursue disruptive technology to boost the quality of shows produced and enable artists to focus on making art in order to put more on the screen. We embrace the use of Blender for large-scale feature production, and our third-party software budget is now largely dedicated to internal and external engineers for Blender development for the benefit of Tangent and the community at large. LOUPE, our internal cloud-based pipeline, features USD support, allowing integration of Blender and other popular DCC tools, and will be available to the public later this year. And because we're storytellers and pioneers who invest in systems that advance production methodologies, we wholeheartedly support initiatives such as Intel's oneAPI Render Toolkit to increase efficiency of our productions to enable us to pursue ever more challenging projects. An example of this adoption of technology from Intel was Tangent's incorporation of Embree, Intel's open source ray tracing core. This had a very dramatic positive impact on production of Next Gen, resulting in performance figures such as a 10 to 15% overall decrease in render time, with greater decreases witnessed on scenes with heavy volumetrics and motion blur, 400 to 500% decrease on frames that exhibited extreme motion blur, and it dramatically increased the number of artistic iterations that the artist could deliver. The end result was a faster time to market with higher quality for the same budget. On one particularly heavy shot on Next Gen, render times are dramatically improved when we enable Embree and cycles. This shot consisted of gigabytes of geometric data with water simulations, foam particles, and bubble simulations, and featured full ray trace reflections and refractions. These are the render times we saw on one of our shots before using Embree. The horizontal axis is the frame number and the vertical axis is time in minutes. Where the quicker frames rendered in 4 hours, frames with significant motion and motion blur literally took days to complete a single frame. The dotted line refers to render jobs that were killed before they were finished, so they would have taken longer than the line indicates. Peak render times before we stopped the render were 30 plus hours per frame. So let's swap out the ray tracing core and Blender cycles for Embree and see what that was able to do for our render times. So here's the graph again, this time with Embree times in yellow. While heavy motion still shows an increase in render time, it isn't nearly as much as before. Here we see a 4 to 5 times decrease in render times for the most difficult frames, with a much more predictable overall render time. This results in a very manageable and predictable render time for scheduling purposes. Another piece of technology that Tangent incorporated into Blender was Intel's Open Image Denoise. Open Image Denoise is an open source library of high performance, high quality denoising filters for images rendered with ray tracing. Tangent incorporated the Open Image Denoise functionality into the Blender interactive viewport in a matter of days. Final quality still images were generated 10 times faster, increasing the number of iterations possible by the lighting and surfacing artists within the schedule. Improved iteration time with near final quality images in the viewport significantly improved and sped up the artist's workflow. So let's take a look at Open Image Denoise in the Blender viewport. The first set of imagery being shown here is the Cycles Path Tracer trying to resolve the image in the alleyway with the 7723 character. Fully resolving this image could take a significant amount of time, and the noisy image basically is not something that is of the quality that can be shown for review purposes. Here, we've turned on Open Image Denoise, and you can see how quickly the image resolves to a near final quality image, leading to much more interactive and much more iterative workflows for the artist. Our collaboration with Intel and incorporation of their innovative technology reaps benefits for the community as Tangent contributes all Blender enhancements back to the open source. Utilizing Intel Embree and Cycles for next-gen greatly contributed to its completion within budget and on schedule with a higher quality level. For those of you that want to experience it, Embree is now included in Blender 2.90 and is enabled by default, and the Intel Open Image Denoise functionality debuted in Blender 2.81. So what's next for Tangent regarding Intel technologies? Tangent fully supports Intel's open platform direction, and we're extremely interested in Intel's Osprey, which is a scalable, portable, distributed rendering API, and is part of Intel's oneAPI Rendering Toolkit. We're investigating utilizing the standalone renderer for Blender in place of Cycles. We're also investigating incorporating Intel's Open Volume kernel library to render complex 3D volumetric data such as explosions, clouds, fire, and dust, all of which contribute to a more immersive movie experience and would give directors and artists more freedom when creating scenes that feature volumetrics. As a note, Embree Open Image Denoise and Osprey form part of the overall Intel oneAPI Render Toolkit. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank you for watching this presentation and invite you to visit these links to get more information on the Intel oneAPI technologies, Tangent Studios, and our upcoming LOUPE asset and production management software. Thank you very much.